Hi friends, today is Saturday, June 20th. My name is Susan Mosley and I'm the pastor at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Rappahannock in Whitestone, Virginia. This is my weekly meditation. These video meditations began back in March when the coronavirus hit and we had to cancel our Sunday services, provided a way for me to stay connected to the fellowship during this time. We always begin the meditation with a chalice lighting, just like we do with the Sunday morning services. We would begin with a chalice lighting. So I light our chalice now. As a symbol of the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of justice. What I want to share with you now is important enough to me that I'm going to use my notes because I want to make sure I remember everything I wanted to say. The struggle for justice, racial justice and economic justice, and they are intimately intertwined, has taken center stage lately, where it should be. Yesterday was Juneteenth, the commemoration of the end of slavery in the United States. June 19th, 1865, was the day federal troops marched into Galveston, Texas, to inform the last groups of enslaved African Americans that the war was over and they were free. This was 2 years after the end of the war. Also, today was the Mass Poor People's Assembly and Moral March on Washington. It was virtual, but no less powerful. It is a moral movement that will not be stopped. In light of this movement, I would like to speak to you briefly about a quieter movement within the UUA, something that I just became aware of fairly recently. It is the movement to add an 8th principle to the familiar 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. When I first was introduced to the UU faith tradition, it was the 7 principles that caught my attention. If you are not UU and are not familiar with those principles, please Google them. I will read to you now an abbreviated form of those principles. The member congregations of the UUA covenant and affirm to promote the worth and dignity of every person, compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth, a free and responsible search for the truth, the use of the democratic process, the goal of the world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and the 7th, respect for the interdependent web of life, of which we are all a part. I recently heard about this movement within the UUA to include an 8th principle, and I was not sure we needed an 8th principle because the 7 seemed comprehensive to me. Everything we needed to affirm and promote in order to work toward liberty and justice for all. But that, I believe, was naive on my part. Believing that we didn't need anything new or anything more was a naivete that came from my identity within the dominant white culture. Let me explain. First, I want to read to you the 8th principle, and then I will tell you a little bit about the history. The 8th principle reads like this: We, the member congregations of the UUA, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. So, a little background. A woman named Paula Coles Jones, an African-American woman and a very active UU, was influential in initiating this 8th principle. You see, for years, she worked as the Director for Racial and Social Justice in the UU Central East Region Group. As she worked with congregations for 15 years, it became clear to Ms. Jones that there are 2 paradigms in the UU, active in UU circles. Those 2 paradigms are, one, the principles, and the other paradigm is the beloved community, the concept of the beloved community. The beloved community is a phrase used by Martin Luther King Jr. to envision and describe a deep multiculturalism, not just a community where black and white could live peacefully together, but a community where all diverse cultural groups could live together in peace and where all groups could not just live but thrive. Paula Coles Jones realized that a person can believe they are being a good UU and following the 7 principles without really dealing with racism and other oppressions. So this is an invitation to you to individually reflect on the principles again. Our 7 principles imply the 8th principle, but do not explicitly hold us accountable for addressing these oppressions directly, especially at the systemic level. So my question is, might the proposed 8th principle help fulfill the potential of our existing principles? The UU principles were not designed to be our creed. They are dynamic, and as such, we educate ourselves and gain new understanding, and then our UU structure makes it possible to reflect that. So finally, I would say that the 8th principle is really more of a beginning of action rather than the ultimate goal. What would it look like if our actions actually and truly matched our values? Maybe that would be spiritual wholeness. May it be so. And I will add at the end that I miss you. And I really look forward to getting back together with you in person. And until then, we will be doing everything we can to keep us connected as a fellowship, as a community, and as a UU community that is working to become internally and externally moving toward the beloved community. May it be so. And namaste.